Hey guys, I'm going to try to get this one last video in before sundown because it is Friday and I want to make sure that we rest. And I still wanted to get out a lot of videos today, but I had the most difficult time dealing with customer service earlier. I had to be on the phone and like trying to use an app for just asking questions. So I didn't get to work as much as I wanted to, but I wanted to get this video out today, and I think my hair curled pretty well for the video. I don't know if you guys realize how much work I do before videos, but like I don't have a full beat on today, but you can tell I got makeup on because I did a different technique with this. But I will do a full face of makeup because I want to look my best for you guys, but also whenever I turn around, there are no imperfections when I have makeup on. So it's not so much insecurity as much as it is a quality thing when it comes to videos. I'm very specific with everything, and so yeah, this is like, I try to make this my YouTube shirt. It was literally like $1.79 over at Goodwill. It was like on a sale day, and it was already at Goodwill. So I try to keep my brand consistent for you guys. But yeah, that's why I'm late today when it comes to work. I do want to talk about GPA and why it's not trustworthy. For the reason that it assumes a lot of things, and it does not leave any room for interpretation. It's pretty unforgiving, and whenever you're going to apply to colleges and they see bad GPAs, or whenever you go to apply for jobs, which is even worse because now you've invested so much money into yourself and you're expecting that in return, and when you can't get a job right away, a well-paying job that's worth your, it's worth your knowledge, it's very frustrating, and it's kind of constricting, right? And so having that GPA barrier to internships, it's really harmful because like when I say there's no room for interpretation, the assumptions are that you had an excellent teacher, you were properly taught and fully understood what you were being taught, and you had a good environment to work in. And the thing that GPA will try to, what GPA tries to determine is whether or not you're responsible, and for a good reason, or for a good portion of that is true, but not every school grades students the same. And so whenever you're applying to colleges, you might be up against someone, and I went through a school where we did non-weighted GPA, so it didn't matter if you were taking an AP class or if the class you were taking was a year ahead of what you should have been taking. It was off of a 4.0 scale, and then I hear of other students who've got like a 6.0 GPA out of 4.0, and I'm like, how does that even work? And over at my high school, we didn't even have a valedictorian and salutatorian. We just had valedictorians across the board for anyone who got a 4.0. Now, everyone who got a 4.0, they earned it. And like, I know, like I personally know these people, and they worked their butts off. But only one person deserved that 4.0, and it was the girl that she did competitive swimming. She took all AP classes, and then the guy, I know he didn't take one AP class, he took an advanced English class, and he got a 4.0. But he should have been salutatorian. But like, and I'm not trying to put anyone on blast, and if you know me personally, like you were complaining alongside me, and you were rolling your eyes with me on this one. But there's this one girl who like, she got a 4.0, she got valedictorian, and she had a very long speech, but she did not deserve that because she was part-time homeschooled. And honestly, like, if you're going to be at high school being part-time homeschooled and not taking the same classes, and you don't have the same like verification that the classes are that the classes that you're taking at home are just as rigorous, like, you don't deserve that. The girl who took every single AP class, who did competitive swimming outside of school, she was the one who deserved that valedictorian title alone. But she's gone off to be very successful, and she, she works hard and she does excellently, and everything in her life is going for her. So I mean, like, good for her. But here's the thing with GPAs. It feels like it's a clout chasing thing without much basis. And like my husband, he told me, I was looking through his transcripts for school because we needed to make sure that I was helping him out with his resume. And I was like, what classes did you take? So I just bought his transcript. We looked through that, or I looked through that. I'm like, oh my gosh, you got a really high GPA in this school. And he's like, oh yeah, they were dumb. Everything was multiple choice, and they didn't really teach that much. And I'm like, oh my goodness. So here's the thing, GPA, like I suffered from this with GPA, where there's just the assumption that, like I said in my other videos, you're lazy, you're unmotivated, you don't want to do anything, when really, like, you could have had a very difficult teacher, and that doesn't show on a transcript. Having a difficult teacher, and I'm not just saying like a challenging teacher, your teacher should be difficult, but like, for example, one of the teachers that I had was, it was his very, very first time teaching ever. And this was over at my community college, and he was teaching algebra-based physics. And if for anyone who's taken algebra-based and physics and calculus-based physics, algebra-based physics is far more difficult to comprehend than calculus-based. And for those of you who don't understand, we can get to that in another video. But like, algebra-based physics is not very, very easy to understand with the understanding of algebra. That's what makes it difficult. And not only that, but it was his first time teaching, and he was teaching in a college setting, and English is not his first language. I could understand him. And I mean, most of us who were in that environment, who grew up in that area, we can understand people with thick accents from other areas, or from other countries, I should say. But it's the vernacular, where the vernacular is what causes loss in translation, not so much the accent. And so when English isn't your first language, and you learn English from British people who publish, who publish curriculum and teach you how to speak English properly like an Englishman, right? You're not going to be speaking American English, and all of us American kids are like, what is going on over here? And he literally curved the grade for the final exam up by 20 points because I think he felt sorry for us. But like, that was a very, very difficult class because like, he didn't know how to teach, and being the people to break him in, that doesn't get shown on a transcript, that was that professor's or that instructor's first time teaching. Of course you're gonna do bad, right? And then you'll have people from other schools where their teachers will curve every single grade, and you'll have people from another school doing the same subject where there is no grade that is curved. So even if you understand the material far better than the people from school A, because school B teachers don't curve, school A looks like they perform way better than you because they get their grades curved. And so they're basically rewarded for their bad behavior, and now they've got these internship opportunities opened up to them because they were able to meet those GPA requirements. And so it's very difficult to like not feel bogged down about these kind of things, because it's like, I worked so hard, why don't I just cheat anyway? Why don't I just buy Chegg? And I mean, I couldn't afford Chegg, so that's why I didn't buy it, but the temptation was extremely strong because like everyone else I saw around me, like whenever I was talking about transferring to university from community college, and my organic chemistry professor, I kid you not, she was so freaking difficult. And like, I mean, organic chemistry is supposed to be difficult, but like, we had to do six-step syntheses, and it was basically like, I don't know, like an ethanol molecule to a metaxylene. I think we just something like that. Like, just think ethyl alcohol to metaxylene, and it's like, okay, show me how you get there. And like, my first time taking organic chemistry, I could not do it. Second time, yeah, I understood finally because it was like the second time around, but like, it's, and even organic chemistry, like, is there no grace for that? Because like, I don't know, like organic chemistry versus another class, like a humanities course. And I know you humanities people, you guys do good work, but like, you try taking organic chemistry, it's really difficult. And it's just like, of course the person who's taking another set of courses is going to have a 4.0. They're not taking organic chemistry. They don't even know what Clausius-Clapeyron means, right? Albeit, I didn't even know what a Cartesian, being a Cartesian was. Because like, I was like, Cartesian coordinate system? Like, yeah, I know what that is. Actually, it has something to deal with philosophy and just the modern thought. I didn't know that. But like, GPA feels incredibly unfair. because like I had to deal with teachers who were not did not have the best interest of me and my classmates at heart at all. Like, just show up because you were hired and teach because you have to. It was like what Marshawn Lynch would say, I'm only here so I don't get fined. I'm just here at this conference so I don't get fined, but I'm not answering questions. That's what it felt like with some teachers. And like, you can say that shouldn't matter, but like that does matter. That's parenting right then and there. And now that I've been a teacher and I've seen terrible teaching practices, very manipulative teaching practices, and manipulative behavior with teachers. I'm like this is why these students are not doing well, is because you don't care about them. Like, the reason why their GPA is falling is because you're not giving them the encouragement that they can. And just bad grading practices, I think also, like, you'll hear professors and teachers say like, oh, the right answer at the end doesn't matter. I just want to see the math and you're going to get the credit. No, that's absolutely wrong. Because if you do the math right, you're going to get the right answer. And whenever I try to say that to my students, it's very difficult to grade in a way where if they do the math right and they get the wrong answer at the end, it's very, very difficult to grade in such a way that rewards the work. But I was able to do that, and I made sure the kids had really good grades. But like, it feels like you have so many opportunities closed, even if you worked your butt off, because you could not meet the GPA requirement when some other schmuck has, doesn't even know half the things that you do. It doesn't even have those engraved in his heart. Those equations, those principles, the dogmas of the subjects that you're understanding, and you do. But because you've got the C- since you trudged all the way through school, and this person doesn't because you had difficult teachers, you had a difficult time at home, or like in my case, I got sick and had to drop out of school, so now my GPA is shot. Yeah, of course it looks like I'm irresponsible, but it's like that association with GPA equaling responsibility, when that is not the case at all. GPA doesn't even indicate that you're a good test taker. It just means that you can answer well. And that sounds similar, but like, I find several people who have Chegg subscriptions, and of course they answer well because they've got the answers right in front of them, but it doesn't mean that you're a hard worker and that you actually know what's going on. Like, college should be extremely difficult. And I think all GPAs need to be unweighted, because like, if we're going to make this all about working hard, then it has to all be unweighted, and there should be only valedictorians and salutatorians, not this whole like, oh, all 4.0s. All 4.0s get valedictorians. Like, that's not, that shouldn't be what it is, because it basically says that the person who went to school at halftime as much as the person who worked her butt off. And here's the thing, she got valedictorian even taking every single AP class. Like, she was the only person who deserved that. Every single AP class that was available to us. And that's the other thing, is like, there are some schools that have more AP courses to devote to people, just because they have the staffing and they have great management practices, so they keep great teachers. And then there are some schools that don't, and that's like the only public school that is available around. And so these are just my frustrations with GPA. It doesn't necessarily reflect that you're a good person, and it doesn't necessarily reflect that you're a responsible person, but for the time being, especially when you're in school, and especially if it's just in your university for your degree program, I think GPA is fair, because you're being graded against a standard that everyone is graded on right then and there. But when it comes to like applying for jobs, applying for internships, and if you're in high school, applying to colleges, like, it feels so unfair, because there's like, okay, if there's an extenuating circumstance, talk about it. And it's like, well, I mean, I had that one teacher who everyone hates, and he did not help us at all in algebra. And then I had that physics professor that it was his first time teaching ever in the entire world. And then I had that pre-calc professor where she was so disorganized and did not know how to teach anything. And I mean, she was a really nice person, but she didn't know how to teach. That's what happened also. So like, I'm kind of at a loss for like telling you what an extenuating circumstance is, because I've had all of these things, and I'm not trying to make myself the victim, but these are circumstances that had happened, and I did not have the resources to overcome them. I could not afford tutors. I couldn't afford a Chegg subscription, and everyone else who's paying for Chegg subscriptions, it makes the teacher look good and feels like she doesn't need to teach better, because y'all are outsourcing your questions to something else. And honestly, she wasn't that good at explaining things either. So that's my issue with GPA. When it comes to jobs, I feel like the GPA requirement should just be thrown out the window, and you should just be able to say, or like a job interviewer should just ask you questions about, like, you know, basically give you a test right then and there, and if you pass the test according to them, then, like, you know, you're hired or something like that. But I think GPA should be done away with, because there are just so many different ways that schools judge you and judge your success. And like I said, you could have someone like just getting all sorts of A's and high grades because they got curved for every single grade. And then you've got someone who looks like they are slacking off, but they are the hardest working person that you've ever seen, because their professor refuses to curve. So if you got anything out of this, I know this is kind of ending abruptly, but this is something that I want to talk about, is GPAs, because it doesn't seem fair at all. But if you got something out of this, if you feel frustrations about GPA, comment that below and subscribe to my channel, because I love making videos about education. I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!